My name's Joey. Welcome to my channel. Today I have a play date with some beads. I am making some little beaded charms that you see here, and I am just having fun. This is going to be like summer whimsy personified. Just fun, colorful. There's not much of a color palette here because it's just an everything, just mixed fun. I also have some cotton waxed cord here in 1mm yellow. I also have this pink, hot pink enamel chain that I'm going to be using, and so this is also mixed media. For the little charms here, I'm using 28 gauge wire. You really need small wire, and off to the side I have some charms that have been brushed with my Permalac anti-tarnish coating. If you haven't seen it before, it comes like this. I always link it at the very bottom of my description boxes because, as you can see, I've brushed it over the enamel and the gold. I brushed it over everything, and I did this about 5 or 6 minutes ago, right before I started filming, and it's already dry. And so I have these little guys here. Let me see if my fishy is dry, and my little pink octopus. Yeah, pretty dry. So it dries really fast, and most of the time I do this at the end of a piece because I don't always know everything that's going to go into a piece, but today I did know that these are all going in, so I said it'll be a little bit easier to just go ahead and coat them. But I brush it over the enamel, and I do front and back and get the little brush in the loops, and I did the same thing on the octopus, and it doesn't damage anything, but it definitely keeps it from tarnishing. So I really love that. So you have a few little components to make for my necklace, and I'm going to go ahead and get those out of the way, and then we're going to talk about these little charms. Today I'm going to make a flip-flop and a fishy with you because those are maybe the more complicated, and albeit this is not a complicated project, but only because I went back and did some dimensional beading on top of the wire. So those are the two I'm going to make, and once you see the technique, the sky is the limit. You will sit and just play with your colors of seed beads. These are all completely flat, and this is super easy. You will see. You're going to start, I just made these up. I just made up these shapes, and I did find a few patterns for this type of wire work, but honestly I didn't even stick to them because with the beads that I'm using, I wanted to do my own thing. So I am using 8/0 seed beads for all of my beaded charms, but if you wanted them to be more petite and smaller, you could do 11/0. On these, 11/0s will be more challenging because, as I said, I've added in some dimension to them, and like on the fish eye, this one I wanted to enhance the eye, so I finished by wrapping the wire around his eye, and he's got an eye on both sides. On this one I was playing with making his eye have a little sequin, so it kind of looks like a fish eye, and that's a little more challenging to tie off because the sequin gets in your way. But that's what I'm saying. Once you see the technique, if you don't already know this, because I didn't invent this, it's been around forever, but it's really fun to play with. So like I said, I have a play date with my beads. So these little charms are going to hang in between my beaded charms that I've made here. I'm not exactly sure of the placement yet, but I'm going to just open this simple loop and put my pink octopus, and a little trick here. Whoops, I want to open this a little further. With a simple loop, I want the opening to be toward the back of the component, and I also want the back of my charm to be where that opening is, and I'll show you why. Let me close this. And these are just, you know, for newer people. I always say these things because I get so many messages about people that are brand new. You know, they'll say, I've only started making jewelry like a month ago. And that just excites me because I know just what a joyful thing you have added to your life. But for, you know, so be patient with me, you guys that have been around forever. But when you put the opening of your simple loop to the back and make the back of your charm there, you get this seamless drop. So you don't see any openings. It's just seamless all the way. So there's my little pink octopus, and we're going to do the little fishy together. So I just have 20 gauge wire here. I'm using my one-step looper for these loops. and I'm just going to put it in. There's no beads on it, so past the back jaw, make sure this wire is against this back plate. It makes a fresh cut for me, so I can skip that step with my cutters. I'm not popping this tool closed. I gently close it. My wire is staying here. It's not flipping out of the tool. The loop is made, but this loop is not centered on this wire, so I have to pull it down, then I can smooth, warm, straighten. And when I take that tool away, I have the most perfect, simple loop imaginable. It's so good. So let's see. My pattern here is a pink crystal and an 8/0 gold seed bead, and then a yellow peanut bead. And I'm going to come back with my one-step looper. This time I am going to put the opening of the loop up, so on this project they're going in the same direction. This time I'm using the guide hole because I have this extra wire, and I'm going to push it all the way in, gently close the tool, make sure that I am not putting stress on my bead here, just back it away like a millimeter. Again, the wire is on the back plate. The tool makes that fresh cut for me. As I gently close, I can see that I'm still against the back plate. If it flips out, like if it comes out like that, sometimes you don't get a loop that's closed. So keep it on that back plate if you can. Sometimes your shape of your bead will hinder that, and you may have to, tidy up your loop. But I'm maintaining control here. Close, pull this down so that loop is centered, and I can see that this one has become misaligned, and also that the loop isn't closed all the way, and that's for demonstration purposes. I messed myself up by pulling it out of the tool, but honestly it doesn't bother me because I like to put my pliers to all my wire in a piece and work harden. So for me, I don't mind taking a second to align loops and that kind of thing. So we're going to open this loop just like we would a jump ring, and same thing, the back side of my fish charm is going where the opening of the simple loop is, and get in there and close it, work harden it, and another little charm for my necklace is done. So I'm just doing like a summer theme here. This is pretty random. Like all the things of summer: ice cream cones, watermelon, flip-flops, going to the beach, the little sea creatures. And because it's so whimsical, I do have this flamingo in pink as well, but because it's so whimsical, I really love the blue flamingo, and I'm going to do a blue flip-flop. So these are my other little downward drops, and I did these on head pins. And when I start stringing, I'll decide exactly where they're going to go, but I just am adding color and texture and just adding some drops with some peanut beads, a ball head pin, and some 8/0 gold spacer beads. And here I'm going to do a wrapped loop just because these ball head pins are so fine. And on my loops on this project, I'm doing messy wraps. Generally, that's not me. Generally, I like to do really perfect wraps where one wrap is laying right beneath the previous one. But you'll see when I show you how I did the charms that your loops on these, by the nature of 28 gauge wire that has to be twisted and then formed into a loop, they turn out to be that kind of boho messy wrap look anyway. So I'm just going to keep that going throughout the whole piece and just wrap, haphazardly. It's very organic, not lined up, and it gives you a lot of texture, especially when you're dealing with really fine wire, which I am. My ball head pins are really fine, and of course the 28 gauge wire. But still, like always, you want to tuck in any ends so nothing is sharp. And I have another little drop done for when I start my stringing. Okay, let's dive in to making the flip-flop. We'll do that first. So I just have a generous length of the 28 gauge wire. I just picked this up at the craft store. And I'm going to do a blue flip-flop. So I'm going to start, let's set the flip-flop over here so we can look at it. I'm going to use what I created here as my pattern. And I'm going to start at the bottom of the flip-flop, and I'm going to string on 4 of these blue 8/0 seed beads and let them come down to the middle of my wire. And now on this one, I ran my wire underneath the flip-flop to kind of frame it, and that made my first row a little bit easier. On the watermelon, I did not do that. I didn't want the wire here, but you can do it either way. On the flip-flop, I rather like the way the wire outlines the whole shape of the flip-flop. On this particular shape, that worked really well. So what I'm going to do is hold these 4 beads with my thumb and a finger and just feed my one end of my wire back through. And I don't want it to go into a circle. So I'm going to be really careful that it doesn't go into a circle. This is only 28 gauge wire, you guys, so it's really fun to work with. You can pretty much make it do whatever you want with just your fingers. But I'm going to pull this pretty tight. I wanted to keep this from going into a circle because I need a straight line. And now I'm going to flip it this way because this is that bottom part of my flip-flop. And so my next row has 6 beads. So I'm going to count 6. Okay, so once you get those on, I'm going to fold this wire in this direction, and before I secure it, I'm going to try to center it a little bit above my 4 beads. The first couple of rows on any of the shapes that you do this way are a little difficult to hold on to, but they really they get into place pretty quickly once you get a couple rows in. I'm just going to do it so that I know my fingers are in the way, but I just want to get it so that it's kind of centered above, and we're going to secure it so this will get secured. And then I'm going to do that same thing. I'm going to bring this other wire from the bottom row and go through this row, and making sure that you pick up all the beads when you sew back through with the wire, because if you don't, you'll lose your shape. So see how this little guy wants to escape? He's got to get on the wire. Like I said, the first row of any of the shapes, it's a little wiggly, but so you see what I'm doing. And when I pull this, I'll show you. I'm going to just pull it and try not to kink your wire. Just pull, pull, pull. And so you always want to end up with your wires that you're working with so that you can go up the shape. And I do need it's 28 gauge wire, so when you use your pliers to pull and snug, be careful because you can snap this wire. And if you snap your wire, or if you twist it too much and break it off, you pretty much have to start over. So I'm going to do the next row, which my next row is 5 beads. And it doesn't really matter which side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Doesn't really matter which side you string from. You're just going to keep crisscrossing. And same thing, I'm going to fold that over, and see how now that I have my first 2 rows stabilized, it becomes really easy to work your way up the design. So I'm just going to line those, kind of lay them so that they're centered above the 6, and then take my other wire and thread it back through all of them. And again, make sure you don't miss one. They do try to escape. And pull. So we're looking like that. And so this row will tighten up again when we do the next one. So my next row is 4 seed beads. That's the center of my flip-flop. And same thing. And pull. Okay, so I'm going to continue like that all the way up the flip-flop, and I will take a screenshot of this so that if you want to duplicate my pattern, what I did here, you can use my screenshot to count the rows. But you're going to continue up to the top of the flip-flop where you only have 3 seed beads. Okay, the last three are going in place. Just fold that wire over and kind of center them on the toe of the flip-flop and feed my opposite wire all the way through. All three beads. Pull tight. And now I'm going to pull both of these wires up to the top of my design and pinch them together. Just like that, the little flip-flop is taking shape. And then like on these rows where you had a little bit longer beads, if you want to come back and just push the wire in a little bit, you can. It's so soft and malleable, this wire. So you can like manipulate it a little bit, but I'm really happy with that. This little guy here needs to go in. And then from here, I'm just going to take my nylon jaw pliers and get a hold gently of this wire. And here's where I said be careful, because you can break your wire here, and if you do, there's no way to fix this except re-string it. So I'm just holding gently here, and I'm going to twist and pull. I'm just pulling a little bit as I twist so that I can make these two very fine wires into a single wire, and that's how I'm going to get my loop to hang my charm. That's way more than I will need, but whoops, I dropped my nylon jaw pliers, you guys. Sorry for the noise. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and do a wire wrapped loop here like normal. Get a hold of my piece, bend it at a 90-degree angle, and this is just the same as any wire wrapped loop. We're just doing it with the wire we twisted. And here's where I said boho, kind of messy wraps, and it's really good because since this wire is so fine, it really substantiates it and makes it stronger to have, you know, have it layered and wrapped like this. Can go back up. Like I wrapped down, and now I'll use up what I have here and just wrap back up. And like every other wrap, trim and tuck anything that's sharp. A bit of sharpness right there. And my little flip-flop is looking good. So now I'm going to take another smaller piece of that 28 gauge wire, and I don't know if you can see what I did, but I'm coming down to the third row where there are 6 seed beads. I'm going to come up through the bottom on both sides, right in the middle of the 6 seed beads. So I have 3 seed beads on either side of this piece of wire. So just pull it up like that, and you just want to get in there and make sure that you nestle this wire in between the 6. You can grab your pliers to help you. Just make sure that, see, you can't even see it from the back when you do that. And maybe even a little twist just to make sure that it's secure. But again, be careful because this is 28 gauge wire, so you want to be careful twisting 28 gauge wire. Okay, and now I'm going to do a pink strap on this. So I'm going to take 1 seed bead and feed it down over both wires and let it drop down to my flip-flop. And now I'm going to separate the wire. And I did 5 was the sweet spot. So I'm going to thread 5 seed beads on each strand, one at a time. There's the 5. And then I'm going to secure it on this third row from the back. So right there, I'm going to go down through my flip-flop and just pull it down. And again, I'm going to nestle that wire in between the last seed bead and the second to the last. Turn it over so you can see. So right, you see right there, and I'm going to come back up through the top again. And I'm going to pull that tight because I really want that wire to stay. See how it wants to go off to the side? I want it to get right there in between. So I'm going to pull tight. See, and it just disappears. You don't even see it. Push everything up. And now I'm going to just wrap this around a couple of times on the top side, just like that. Just a couple times, 2 or 3. It adds a little, a little look to the flip-flop, almost like a little spacer in between the blue and the pink. And again, if you want to pull with your pliers, you can. Just be careful not to break this wire. Okay, and just tuck. And I'm going to do the exact same thing on this side. 5 more seed beads, same thing. Okay, my little blue flip-flop. I have a blue and a pink flip-flop. Aren't they cute? And they're so dimensional. Okay, we're going to do a fish next, and I'm going to show you my fish. I did the tail this way on this fish, and I tried doing adding it in. I thought it would be cute, and I like it both ways. So I did the same technique where I made the body of my fish on this one and then added in wire to do his tail. But I'm going to do this technique this time, and I'm going to change the shape of my fish. So as I said, you're going to see that when you get this technique down, that you start seeing your shapes in your beads pretty easily. And I don't even measure the wire. I'm just pretty generous with it because, like I said, I don't want to run out. And then the extra wire, if you have it, you can do dimension by adding in things, or put it in a scrap bag. It doesn't go to waste. And so let's see. I think I want to do a pink fish. I mean, who doesn't need a pink fish? Okay, so I'm going to start the same exact way with 4 pink beads. Oh, and let me show you, here's another way to alternate your colors. On this one, I did an outline on the fish, so you can see that on either end of every row, I picked up my accent color, and that gives you an outline in your design. So that's a cute way to, and maybe, let's see, maybe we'll do that this time again. I kind of like that look. And 1 turquoise bead. And come down to kind of the middle of my wire, and I'm going to bend my wire, and I'm going to sew back through the green beads, and so that lets the turquoise bead be my stopper, and just sew through like that. And like I said, on all the designs, your first couple of rows are a little bit challenging. There's nothing secure, so things wiggle a little bit, but just be patient and keep adding into your design. Let's get it nice and tight. Okay, so that's one side of his tail, and again, it is not secure, so you can turn it this way, and I'm going to do the same thing on this side for the other side of his tail. 2 green beads and a turquoise bead. The colors are so fun. And I'm going to bend this into kind of a V. So like that. And then same thing, I'm going to skip over this turquoise bead and sew back down through those 2 green beads and just pull it tight. Just get it nice and tight. And so from here you can do a little twist if you want. I don't have that quite tight enough. Let me find my wire, get my little self untangled here. I see a little loop there. So from here you can really, do some extra twisting if you want. What I did on this one that I really liked was drawing the wires together. I'm going to pinch everything together and then thread a couple seed beads on to start going into his body. So I'm just going to grab everything like that and get a couple of seed beads to go onto his body. I'll do 2. But again, you can change that. You can do 1, you can do 3, and you could go for even mixing in some bigger or smaller beads. On the watermelon, I did not have 8/0 black seed beads for the seeds, so I slipped in some 11/0s and it turned out great. You just get a little bit more texture. So that's what I'm going to do to start the tail on this little guy, is just put 2 beads down where I made my V, and now I'm going to separate these 2 wires and start my fish's body with 4 seed beads, and he's going to be outlined in green, so the first 4 will be green. Oh, sorry guys. You're going to need 2 on each side to start the fish. I forgot that that's how I did it. So you need 2 on each side, and just, you know, create that first row. Just flatten it like that so that you can see where you're going. And then the next row is going to be a green and 3 pinks and then a green. So I'm going to do the outline. I think it's a really pretty effect. So it looks like that, and then I'm going to drop those down and just fold it right on top. So it looks like that. So just get it into, hold it with your thumb and finger and take this opposite wire and thread it through. And again, make sure that you pick up all of the beads, because you will lose your fishy shape if you skip a bead. So it looks like that, and just pull. And now from here it starts to be really easy because it's everything is secured. Just push your beads together. The wire's so fine, sometimes it's counterintuitive. You think it would be really easy to pull. Okay, that's the start of my little fishy. And then I'm going to do the same thing that I did on this one. The next row is 4 seed beads that are the body color, with 1 on each side for my outline color. So I didn't say that right. A green, 4 pink, and a green. That's much more clear. And I'm going to do the same technique. Fold it over, kind of center it a little bit, hold on to it with my thumb and forefinger, and thread the other wire back through everything and pull. So as I said, on this little fish, I want to make him not have such a pointy nose. So on this little fish, I'm going to end with, I think, 3 seed beads. I'm going to change his body shape a little bit. And I'll flip him, well, I was going to say I'll flip him over, but he's the same on both sides. If you want to see, if you want a screenshot of him, so if you like my pattern, if you like the way that I worked out, you can take a screenshot and you can use my pattern for your count. But I encourage you to play with this and do your own thing, because it's really fun. 3 rows exactly like this, where there's 4 of his body color in the middle, flanked with a green seed bead. And so I'm going to do the same thing here 2 more times. I have to get out some more green seed beads, but I'm going to do this. I'm going to have 3 rows that look exactly like this. Here's the first one, here's the second one, and then I've got to do 1 more exactly like that. Just get it into place, stack it right on top of the previous row, and hold on to it as best I can. And it helps when you're running back through, if your wire is straight. It's very fine gauge, so you bend it inadvertently and don't even realize that you did, but then you have a little harder time picking up all your beads. Just pull, and I'm going to do another row just like that. Okay, after my 3 rows that are the same, I'm going to do another one like, let's see, no, did I do? Yep, I'm going to do another one like this with a green, 3 pinks, and a green. We're tapering back toward his head. I mean, I'm kind of making up my patterns as I go, and it's so fun. And you can see if you've kept your shape of your charm or if you've gotten off track. And I have, like my first flip-flop that I didn't care for the shape. And that's the cool thing about this technique is you can back this wire out and, you know, make adjustments before you twist it and tie it off. And so here I want to finish this guy a little differently. Here I'm going to do the outline of 1 green, 2 pink, and a green, and let's see how that looks. Like I said, not much of a pattern. I did find some patterns for this type of thing, but I ended up doing my own thing anyway. And I'm going to finish off with 2 greens, I think. It's so cute. And same thing. I'm going to pull it nice and tight and bring these up to the top and pinch it together. Before you like really twist, you know, get it. Be neat about your shape. So cute. And do a little twist here. You can do it with your, get it started with your hands. Look at that little fishy. And same thing that we did before. I'm going to keep my twist going without putting too much stress on my fine wire. Okay, and I'm going to use this scrap here. I'm going to cut this off right about here. I'm going to use that to do my eyes. Okay, so same thing. 90-degree bend and create a wire wrapped loop here. He's pretty cute, but he needs an eye. And let's see, I think I'm going to do, what color eye do I want to do? We want to have a fish with blue eyes or a gold eye. Let's see. Oh, the gold eye is really pretty. Okay, and this is going to be basically the same technique that we added the strap on the flip-flop. Is choose a spot. It's going to be right about here. And just kind of slip your wire in between 2 beads, whatever spot you choose where you want to place his eye. Same thing, just slip that wire in between the 2 beads, and then draw them together on one side of his head and put your eye color through both, and then separate the wires. And you're going to go back down through the same, on the same spot, and add an eye on the other side of his head. Pull tight, but you know, don't misshapen your shape. So I'm trying to just pull them together and coming out of the same spot on the back side as on the front side. And again, seed bead goes over both wires this time and separate them and go back down to the other side. And what I did from here is I wrapped this wire around the seed bead, like trying to get underneath a little bit, and I just wrapped around a couple of times. It kind of kind of outlined the eye. It made it a little bit more, made it show up a little bit more. It's a little tricky, but use your pliers to help you and go slowly. And when you get to a certain point, you can either snip or tuck or both. And I'm going to run the other wire through to the other side of my fishy and do the same thing. I'm going to get this one back to the other side. Just poke it back through and wrap it around his eye on this side. So he looks good on both sides. Looks like a real fish. Okay, and like I did on all my shapes, I went back and just kind of like played with the edge a little bit if I needed to, if I felt like something became misaligned. But that's my little colorful fishy. So all of my beaded charms are made and we are ready to assemble the necklace. I do have these 6/0 seed beads out here in all these bright colors because they are going to get fed onto my cotton cord. I'm going to modify this little enamel chain that I bought at the craft store. And in fact, I'm going to set this aside so there's a clean surface here. And let me just lay out the charms and sort of decide the way in which I want to add them to my necklace. Okay, this is going to be my lineup. Those are going to get strung on this yellow cord, but I've got to make a modification because what I'm going to do is this is going to be the back part of the necklace with the closure that goes behind the neck, and the part that houses all these charms, the focal, is going to get attached here with the cord. So this is really mixed media. I mean, charms and seed beads and metal and cord and enamel. I love mixing up my media like that. Move it. And now I'm going to just start on one side of my necklace. I'll start with this piece of chain here, and I'm going to take my cord, and I did not measure this. I put it about where I wanted it to land, and then I tripled the length because I am going to do a lot of knotting and I don't know how much. So on this final link here, I'm going to put one thread, one cord, and pull it down so that it's like that. And I'm going to start with an overhand knot, and I love my knotting tweezer. Reach inside the loop, and right where I want that knot, get a hold of my cord and pull. And that is going to start me off. And then all of these colorful 6/0 seed beads that you saw, I'll just put a few of each here just so that the tray is not in the way. These are going to kind of be the spacers in between threading these on. I think it's going to be so pretty. So let me get it started. Knotting is very repetitive, and you know, I have to get to my length. So I'm just going to get it started. I'll show you what it's going to look like. The 6/0 seed beads fit really well over this cord if you do a nice angled cut. So I'll start off with 3 blue, a little bit of gold on this piece here and there. I'm going to bring those down, and I'm going to choose an accent color on this side. Do this flashy green. And I'm just going to put them next to each other like that and do another overhand knot. Okay, I'm going to get out some jump rings, and I will use the ones that I've made. I might need to make some more, but I usually have a good supply made up. And I'm going to add my first little beaded charm to a jump ring and add it right on to my cord. Okay, so I'll feed both ends through this jump ring. And I'm going to just leave a little space there. I'm not going to do it really tight, but I'm going to do another overhand knot, and that's going to sort of be the spacer on either side of my little first charm. There we go. I just want to make sure that my jump ring, so I'm going to need to stay with that size of a jump ring because I don't want it to slide over the knot. I want my little fish guy to stay there. And now I'm going to do another section here of colorful seed beads. I'll switch to this green, this really bright lime green. And I'm going to work my way across the bottom of this fun summer whimsy. I just love this. I just think, I mean, I don't have very much done, but it's already so pretty, and I just love the mixed media. I love the cord, the seed beads. I love the enamel element. Like, look at that. It's so pretty, and I only have one charm on there. So I'm going to choose my next jump ring, my next charm that's in the lineup, and do that same thing. So I'm going to do this off camera because I'm going to add these in exactly this way, just random colors of my seed beads, and the knots in my cord are also my spacer beads, and just get this really fun summer charm whimsy. I do not know what to call this. As I'm working, I'll come up with a name so I can title my video. Literally giggling to myself. This is so beautiful, but it's whimsical and the most unserious necklace I think I've ever done, but I absolutely adore it. Oh my goodness. So I did need to add in some thread, and I just took the opportunity where I added in a knot to put a really pretty little bow on my necklace, and I just love it. I think this is so fun. I love making my own resort wear. Like, I would wear this with my bathing suit cover up, like when I go to the beach. I have, you know, colorful ones and white ones, and just to pop this on. And I love the enamel chain because if you have sunscreen, or, you know, if you're getting hot and sticky in the summer sun, you can just wash this with soap and water, and you're not, you know, you don't have metal that will tarnish up against your skin. And so I just love it. So I'm going to do the same thing on this side. I'm going to take my last link of chain where I separated this and feed it down onto one end of this cord and just tie as pretty of a knot as I can get, and nice and secure. So I'm going to do like one overhand knot this way and another, and then straighten out my chain so that it's going to lay the way that I want it to. And then I'm going to draw these together and do, it's really secure if you do an overhand knot with them together. And let me get my knotting tweezer in here. So I'm going to grab right on top of my overhand knots and pull, and just get that really nice and tight. And so here is where I always have to decide if I want to do just some fringiness. And let me see how this cord, this is a cord that I had in my stash, and I like to fray the ends if I can, but this is a little different than my Brazilian waxed cord. Oh yeah, it does fray really nicely. Okay, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take some of my GS Hypo Cement, and that's what I did here where I added in, I put a little GS Hypo Cement. I directed it inside the knot, front and bottom. It dries clear so you don't see it, and I'm going to do the same thing here, especially right at the end. The precision tip is great because you can poke it like a little bit inside your knots and in between, And especially here, your final, make sure that gets a good coating of glue. And got to get that pin back in this glue right away because the glue keeps flowing if you don't. And I am going to just cut this pretty short, like right there, and take my knotting tweezer and just create some fringiness. Just like on the, just fray it on the end. Just separate all those little fibers. They would probably do this on their own as well, but I'm going to give it a little assist. This is, what are we going to call this? Beach boho chic, resort, boho resort chic. It's like a summer whimsy, like a summer wonderland. I just love it. And you guys, yesterday I got in my car and the thermostat in the car said 102 degrees, and it's only May, more the middle of May, not even the end of May. So we're in for a hot summer where I live, and I guess I have already like mentally moved out of the spring jewelry designs, and I'm thinking summer. I'm thinking, you know, I love this because with the cord it's very lightweight. You know, seed beads are not heavy. And like I say, I love the enamel and all the mixed media and the happy colors. And this is a no-brainer because you really can't mess up the color palette because there really is none. It's just a, you know, bead buffet. I just absolutely love it. So I'm thrilled. My play date with my beads today was really a happy, successful one. I will put links in the description box to anything that I have shown here, that I know where I got it. And I always put my favorite tools, and I've recently started a new section called my current favorite findings because I get a lot of questions about what jump rings I'm using and what head pins and that kind of thing. And so anything that I've found that's my favorite right now that I'm working with, I created a new little section of my description boxes. I thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next video.